Good morning, everyone. I extend to you a warm welcome to today's summit. I sincerely hope all of you are in the best of your health. As a major agrarian economy, India's tractor industry growth has been triggered by both government and private sector initiatives. Tractors will remain pivotal for agricultural production, but they will need to become more flexible, efficient, and more sustainable. Growing demand for tractors equipped with cutting-edge technology like electrification will increase the farm equipment market value. Today, at the second edition of ETAuto Farm Equipment Virtual Summit 2021, the industry stalwarts from around the world will discuss the current issues and new and emerging technologies and market opportunities. Thought leaders from different parts of the world will present in this day-long marathon virtual event case studies on the latest developments in the industry. In interactive panel discussions, they will debate on some of the trending topics, including safety, best practices, supply chain, workforce supply constraints, and skill development. You all can drop your session-related questions in the chat box. Our session experts are here to answer your questions. Also, use the hashtag for this summit, ETAuto, FEVS. Before we start our inaugural session, I'll take a moment to thank all our partners for believing in our concept and for being there with us. Presenting partner, Garrett. Powered by partner, Mahindra Tractors, Tough Hardem, L&T Financial Services. Associate partner, Altair. Silver partners, CNH Industrial, Hexagon, NBC, ESI, Software India Private Limited. Event tech partner, vConfix. Thank you to all of you. Now, I would like to welcome Nabil Khan, editor, ETAuto, for a welcome address and inaugural keynote address. Platform is all yours, Nabil.
Good morning, global industry leaders, technocrats, experts, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second edition of ETAuto Farm Equipment Virtual Summit 2021. First, let me thank all the industry stakeholders, top industry leaders for choosing ETAuto Farm Equipment Virtual Summit to be their preferred choice to share their thoughts, ideas, and discuss the future track of this sector. I'm really glad to see the overwhelming response from the entire industry, global and Indian industry, who chose to be part of this as an attendee and speaker. For this grand success, I must thank my team and the industry participation and the experts who have believed in us. Let me first begin by giving a brief understanding of the Indian farm sector or the tractor industry. The global tractor industry is about 2 million units, and India holds the pole position with a production of about 1 million units. Almost half of the production happens in India, and the India's local market is at about 900,000. And exports from India for tractors is at about 100,000. Of course, the India's closest rival in this space is China. Not only this, if you look at India's tractor industry, it contributes substantially to India's automotive part manufacturing industry also, to the tune of $4 to $5 billion. That's another aspect of the tractor industry. If you look at the farm sector or tractor industry, it is generally perceived that the use or application of tractor is limited to farming, agriculture. But I'll tell you, there are multiple applications that is happening of the tractors. If you look at the rural economy, it is important to understand how rural economy is faring and what is the role in the national economy when it comes to rural market. Currently, rural economy contributes about 45% of India's GDP, and farm sector or agriculture sector that contributes about 16% of the economy. So that's the important role agriculture plays, and tractor is the main factor when it comes to cultivation or agriculture in India. Going forward, it is expected that the contribution of agriculture may go up, because if you look at the cultivable land that we have in India, is only about 198 million hectares, but of this 198 million hectares, currently the utilized arable land is only at 159 million hectares. That has not improved in the last few years. Thus, the role of tractors becomes very important. If the mechanization happens, the productivity of these cultivable land has to increase. The future tractor or the better feature tractor has to be implemented. Thus, the role or the opportunity for tractors increase manifold. If you look at the other challenge that is there or the opportunity, let's first talk about opportunities only. If you look at the workforce that was involved in a rural area in agriculture, used to be 60% of the population in 1990, which came down to 40%, and now it is expected by 2030 it will go to 25%. Thus again, the mechanization and automation of agriculture will increase. Thus, the demand for tractors will increase. The other reasons for increase in tractor demands, obviously, the small scale industries in rural area, like you talk about brick lane and other areas, are going to increase. There also application of tractor is very important. Please note, in the rural market, manufacturing, a small scale manufacturing and services contribute 30% of the total 45% contribution that rural economy makes to the India's GDP. So these are some of the opportunity that is going to open up for tractor industry. Let's talk about challenge that Indian tractor industry faces. The biggest challenge is in terms of fleet modernization. If a manufacturer is trying to bring about a change in their product, they want to upgrade, they want to bring a new tractor model, they have to wait for at least 3 to 4 years for testing, because there is only one testing facility that is available in India. And even when your turn comes, it takes about 1 year to get complete certification and result of the testing. So that's a big bottleneck that needs to be addressed. The other bottleneck in the tractor industry that is being faced by tractor industry is the finance problem. Only partial finance is available. We have seen the input cost of tractor has increased massively, at least 40 to 50,000 in the last 5-6 months. But the finance rate has continued to come down, or it has remained at the same level. It is very difficult to get finance on tractors. Most of these buyers do not have a credit history that puts them in the negative list. The other big challenge that is faced by tractor manufacturers is from the retailing perspective. The retailers or the dealers of tractor complain that it takes months to get to, or weeks to sell a tractor, because first tractor goes to the farmers, they take a ride on it, they test it, then they come, then the actual deal happens. So that needs to be shortened. The time period required for retail needs to be shortened. Here, ease of doing business kind of scenario has to be maintained. The other challenge, you have already seen the input cost. Because of the hike in raw material costs, the price of tractors have already gone up. Now next month, TREM 4 is going to be implemented on all the tractors that is above 50 HP. That will further increase the cost. That will impact the demand. But however, this is going to impact only a small market of the entire tractor industry that we have in India. That will be about 8 to 9%. However, this will trigger a shift among the tractor buyers. They might move to smaller tractor like 40 HP, 40 to 50 HP. Below 50 HP tractors demand will surge. The other biggest problem that is there, the farmer community, already seen as one of the marginalized community, had to face huge inflation because of the rising cost of diesel in the last few months. We have seen the diesel cost has gone up. The fertilizer cost, that is urea and urea cost has gone up. If you talk about the non-urea fertilizer, the cost has gone up from about 1,200 a bag. Fertilizer that was costing about 1,200 a bag has now come up to rupees 1,800 per bag. So that kind of impact on the cost. If you look at the production cost last year, that probably does not include the cost increase in urea, is about of 2,100 rupees per hectare. That's humongous. But also we have to note that last year the MSP also rose by 8 to 10%, which means there has been a bit of offset if the farmer is able to sell their produce 100%. But we have seen some of the scenes in Maharashtra and other states where farmers were forced to throw their produce on the streets because they were not able to get enough cost or price for their produce. So these are some of the major challenges being faced by tractor industry and its ecosystem. At the center of tractor sales still remains the farmers. So the ecosystem, the manufacturers, the dealers and government should come together and build some robust system that can make the farmers' business, farming sustainable business. That's a very important aspect. That's the reform the government needs to bring. There should be uniform subsidy. Right now, the subsidies provided to the farmers for tractors and others is fragmented. We need to have one nation, one policy kind of subsidy for the tractors also. That's very important. Going forward, if you talk about the one aspect of opportunity and also that is going to provide ease to the farmers is the custom hiring, wherein the farmers are not required to own a tractor, but they can hire a tractor. And there, the tractor manufacturers can also explore a huge opportunity. So that's about the tractor and an overview. So far, when it comes to India and globe, but how does this year look like for Indian tractor industry? And how does the future of tractor look like? Let me first put a light on how will this year tractor industry fare. Because of the huge growth with the huge double-digit growth that we had last year, this year the industry pundits project or forecast a growth of about 5 to 6%. That means the entire tractor market in India will be about 9.5 lakh units. But there are factors that could, help the industry grow faster, because if you look at the overall 5-year CAGR, it's been only 10 to 12%. So it could be possible that if there's some positive factors comes in, there could be a better growth that cannot be denied. If you look at the future of tractors globally, like automobile industry, the future mega trends, that is autonomy, electrification, hybridization, and alternate fuel, is also catching up in the tractor industry. To discuss this, what is going to be the future of tractor, we have a very important keynote speaker. Let me invite today's inaugural keynote speaker, Jay Iyengar. She is the Chief Technology Officer at CNH Industrial. CNH Industrial was one of the leading tractor and automotive conglomerate. Jay Iyengar is one of the few global women leaders who have broken the glass ceiling and rose to this high rank. She is an IIT Mumbai graduate, and she has held various important positions across various industries and companies. She has worked with General Motors, Fiat Chrysler, Eaton Corporation, and she's also on the board of Array Technology and Engineering Tomorrow Inc. Thank you, Jay, for joining ETAuto Farm Equipment Virtual Summit. Over to you.
Thank you for the introduction. It's my pleasure to join the summit. Welcome to all the participants of the Farm Equipment Virtual Summit 2021. We're dealing with very challenging circumstances due to the pandemic, and in many ways, it's more important now than ever to keep our focus on the future. So I'm going to share some perspectives on the future of tractors, starting with the global megatrends and how they're affecting the trajectory of the future of farming. Before I begin, let's acknowledge that we are all privileged to be working in the agricultural industry. And I'm often reminded of the quote by George Washington, who said, agriculture is the most healthful, most useful, and most noble employment of man. And, this statement is true even today. We in the ag industry align directly with 6 of the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So sustainability and bringing customer value is at the center of everything that we do. As I mentioned, I'm speaking to you specifically about tractors today, and, what are they and why should we even care? I would say the tractor fundamentally helped create the world we have around us today. If you just look at ancient times, human beings spent all their time in search of food. Fundamentally, everybody was involved in agriculture one way or another. As we progressed through the ages, someone attached a plow to an ox, which improved the overall efficiency of food production. So the population grew and people could begin to focus on other things besides agriculture, and cities were created and civilization took place. And as the world population expanded to about 1 billion people, industrialization progressed, but still 50% of the world's population was in agriculture. Until in 1892, the very first modern day tractor was born with John Froelich, installing a combustion engine onto a chassis and creating what the modern tractor, and 25 years later, Henry Ford mass produced it. I guess if you come back to today where we are, right, with our world population has grown and a small percentage of the people are involved in farming, and the rest of the population is focused on all the other technology development that we are used to today, transportation, infrastructure, aerospace, communications, etc. So in conclusion, I would say that, fundamentally, tractor created the world we live in today. So what is the future of the tractors? I always start with looking at the macro trends that are playing a major influence on the future of tractors. I'm sure these are not new to you: population growth, urbanization, climate change, and digital and connectedness. We will have 2 billion more people by 2050, and the calorific intake will go up by 10%, not just the number of people demanding more food. And with the urbanization, people leaving rural areas, moving to megacities, global warming, and overall digital revolution and connectedness becomes standard in daily lives. Let's just double click on one of them, the population growth and what it means for demand for food. There are several studies on this. I've included one example here on the left. If you just examine the impact of population will have on the farming industry, the challenges on it shows increased need for food production, water consumption, inefficiency in fertilization, yield loss and productivity. On top of it, 30% of the food grown never makes it to the market. And on the right side of it, you see that arable land, the land available for agriculture, is not increasing. It's actually decreasing. Those are, top 4 countries in the world that are into agriculture. As you can see, from 2015 to 2019, the land available is reducing. So it's a combination of a very high demand for food, inefficiency in the agriculture industry, as well as the arable land. It's a very challenging scenario to overcome. Additionally, we are seeing increasing emergence of regulations demanding sustainable solutions. One example is EU is looking at farm-to-fork strategy of sustainability, mandating reduction in chemicals, pesticides, along with reduction of nutrient and fertilizer uses. My message is the only way to break through all of these challenges is technology-driven transformation, and the tractors play a very pivotal role in driving technology-driven transformation in the agriculture and farming industry. So we believe there'll be 4 major technology trends in the future of tractors. First is digitalization, broad application of connected solutions and across the board. Autonomy in terms of machine operations, automatic machine operations, and autonomous vehicles themselves. And because of the connectedness, and we do see new service models that are designed to, offerings that actually help manage the tractors better, as well as manage the overall cost better. And then last but not least, alternative propulsion, alternative technologies that help combat climate change. I'm just going to go deeper into at least digitalization and alternative propulsion and show you how the tractors of the future look like in those areas because of those two areas. If you just go to one of the key enablers, as I mentioned, to improve productivity is precision digital technology, where the efficiency is the name of the game for all farming operations of the tractors. It's about automating the tractor operations, controlling settings, automatic the guidance of how the tractor follows the prescribed path for all operations, starting from tillage all the way to harvesting. Now we're using advanced sensing and data management, driving precision around planting, placement of seeds, spraying of fertilizers and nutrients, etc. Next is to have a command and control system operations, being able to control multiple tractors and sharing the workload, all of this enabled by vehicle-to-vehicle connectivity. And lastly, autonomous self-moving tractors. And additionally, because of the digital connectivity, machines will have very enhanced diagnostic capability and prognostics. And the autonomy, we believe, similar to automotive on-road, there will be different degrees of autonomy of the tractors following the same concept, same levels of autonomy as you see on highway vehicles. And ability for machine to work alone, work with other machines, vehicle-to-vehicle connectivity, enhanced operator mode where the operator is outside the vehicle, ability of one operator to control multiple machines, and all the way to full autonomy, which does not require any human supervision. All of this provide increased level of productivity, efficiency, and reduce operational cost. And the impact of digital is much more profound than precision and autonomy at the tractor level. In many ways, tractor becomes a mobile sensor data gathering in the field. All of the data is fed to a farm management system to make data-driven agronomic decisions for the next crop cycle, how to manage the entire farm. It is completely digitized, providing insights into what to do next. Each of these steps that I show here have proven to deliver tremendous productivity improvements and overall improvements in the economics of the farm itself. And just to summarize it, the benefits of digital technology are significant and go a long way towards addressing the challenges that I spoke of earlier. So the future tractor will have all the electronics and software and computing capabilities, and tractors will essentially be, as I mentioned, mobile sensors and computers on wheels. Let's examine the second. I talked about switching gears, talk about the next technology trend, alternative propulsion. This is an important area to drive environmental sustainability along with productivity improvements. In electrification, we foresee electrification in three areas of impact. First, there will be electric power available from tractors to drive electric implements. So the tractor will become a generator, if you think about it. Second, on the tractor itself, there will be a trend similar to automotive where several hydraulic actuators and mechanical systems will convert from hydraulic mechanical into electric to increase efficiency. And third, the propulsion system itself will go from a hybrid to all the way to full battery electric systems. We also foresee alternative fuels such as CNG, compressed natural gas, and liquefied natural gas as another path to reduce emissions. Implements electrified further enhance the precision operations that I spoke of earlier, improve efficiency, safety, maneuverability, and controllability, oil-free, preventing environmental pollution, and they help reduce operating cost and increase data availability for agronomic purposes. So there are industry standards being created for connectors, as you see on the right, under the auspices of AEF Consortium. And I talked about alternative fuel solutions using biomethane, and I spoke of CNG and LNG, and biomethane is the source, and significantly reduce emissions compared to diesel engines, and additionally enable what we call as a circular economy or create a self-sustaining form. If you follow the flow chart on the left, biogas generated from agriculture and dairy animal waste can go into generating biogas, which can be used to power tractors, which are equipped with engine technology for natural gas. Additionally, biogas can generate electricity. Biomass can in turn be used on fertilizers. Essentially, this becomes an energy-independent, sustainable form, all enabled by the tractor technology. And I want to just make sure before closing, I want to talk about Professor M.S. Swaminathan, who I'm sure you all know is the father of Green Revolution in India, said, long-term solutions are important to ensure that farming remains an occupation of choice among majority of our country's rural population. When I read this quote, he reminds us not to forget the customer or the end user. And in all of these solutions, in many ways, the future tractor will need to make the end user's life easier so that, the population will continue to farm. So in conclusion, I want to make, going back to Swaminathan's quote, the human connection to the future tractors is important. And the customer value is at the heart of addressing spoken and unspoken needs, right? When you think of what the future tractor will be, it'll provide information access to enable more informed decisions. It'll be an intuitive user interface. It'll be cleaner for the environment. For a user, it saves time and productivity, better control, accessibility to products and services, in some way, reduce operational and acquisition costs and improve safety. So this gives our perspective on what the future of the tractor would be from just a couple of areas. And I appreciate your time and thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, Jay, for such a precise but very topical presentation. And you have answered already one of the most common questions. Are the tractors going to be electrified? Will there be alternate fuels like CNG? In tractor also, like we are talking about automobiles. You have answered one part of it. Just want to understand, has it really started? You talked about autonomy, connectivity. You talked about that tractors being almost a computer on wheels, like its automobile counterparts. Can you give us a sense, how is it progressing in other markets like Brazil, US, and other places?
Yeah. The technology that I spoke of, which is alternative fuels and different degrees of autonomy, it is here and now. So I know I'm referring to the future. When I talk about the future, I'm actually mainly referring to the adoption rate, not so much as core technology development. Yes, there's always improvements in technology over time as better sensors, but the technology is here and now. Precision, if you just look at the precision guidance where the tractor follows the prescribed guidance in a very efficient manner. We are seeing in the market the different degrees of autonomy, all the way up to level 3 and somewhere between level 3 and level 4 in my chart. It all depends on the specific customer use case and the mission that the customer is following. So the solution that you deploy for a large-scale customer is different than what you would do for a as an example, a specialty customer in terms of people that are going specialty crops. So we see a very strong reception of the technology by the customers because they are able to quantify the values that I spoke of. And in areas like Brazil, you spoke of Brazil, even in India, natural gas is going to be a very important fuel source. That's one of the pathways for us to get, with the sugarcane available in Brazil, right? There's a tremendous amount of opportunity to be able to generate natural gas. So, the combustion engine technology for that is ready to go. So we want to, make sure that the technology fits the customer needs and the adoption is happening naturally. So in the next 5 years or so, you see a much more main scale application of these technologies, and the costs are coming down. The computers on wheels, it is with the autonomy and sensing, and it's a fairly sophisticated tractor technology today, that in many ways it's more sophisticated than automotive vehicles, of what technology that's on the tractors today.
But don't you think it is easier to adopt, be it electrification or the autonomy, because tractor largely works in a closed environment where autonomy can also work safely? Even the electrification, because you can have a charging infrastructure, a problem is already resolved. It works in a closed environment, in a fixed environment or fixed geography. So why do you think still it is taking so much of time in terms of adoption or penetration of these next generation technology in tractor space?
Technology propagation takes a little bit of time, and because you talked about charging infrastructure, it is not there everywhere. There are rural areas, even in the US, charging infrastructure, being able to charge is there. And we are looking at, yes, for the most part, it will be in depending on where the farms are. Second is the mission. You can electrify large tractors, yes, but it's going to be impractical in terms of the cost and the size and the weight of the batteries and the technology that is needed. So it's the combination of the cost points, the mission and the duty cycle the customer has to use, and the physical practicality of the technologies that we have today. So we believe below a certain size of the tractors, very much like full electrification. I'm talking battery electric vehicles. Full electrification will be a sweet spot. In certain sizes, it'll become a hybrid combination of diesel engine and electrification. And in a very higher, depending on what's available, we clearly see a pathway for CNG and LNG. So I think all three technologies have a play, and it just depends on the mission and the customer application.
Can you spell out a bit in terms of segment, in terms of HP or the size of the tractor, which size of the tractor is going to adopt electrification, or what kind of tractors are going to have LNG or CNG or hybrid options, and what the global trends say? We still don't have very huge penetration of these new age technology in tractor space. How do you project in the next few years? How do you see things progressing in the developed economy? And then you can probably talk about emerging economies like Brazil, India, and others.
So we see that, it's a great question. We see that compact and specialty tractors, if you asked the question about horsepower, something below 120 horsepower and below, that's about the range of the compact and specialty. When I use the word specialty, I'm referring to applications such as vineyards, fruit and vegetable growing, that type of farming operations. We clearly see a pathway for a full electrification, and because it's a sweet spot in terms of the size of the motors and the kilowatts of the motors, the battery, and the duty cycle, how much range that they need with the full battery, and the controllability. Just electrification provides tremendous amount of controllability. How you control the vehicles. I would say autonomy is a lot easier if you have electrification versus you're trying to do combustion engine. So we see that that's the range. When you go about something all the way up to about 430 horsepower, that range, we see hybrid, that middle range from 120 to 400, that range, hybrid electric. Again, practically because of the size of the battery and the mission those vehicles do. Larger tractors, CNG, LNG is a very sweet spot in combination, replacing or dual fuel type of an approach where a significant amount of environmental benefits can be had with CNG and LNG. So as the technology progresses, if we just fast forward to 5 years from now, you would have better, energy density of the battery technology. I'm very convinced of that, and the costs are going to come down even more. Then you can start to see that the electrification could apply beyond full electrification, could apply beyond the ranges I'm referring to. But this is an assessment at this moment. That's the market that we're targeting.
What are the other challenges that the typical tractor industry is facing, and what are the other level of disruption that you foresee that is going to transform the tractor industry?
Yeah, so just like other areas that you're seeing, like advanced, it's all about data. It's all about data analytics. So artificial intelligence, being able to, I use the term tractor becomes almost a sensor on wheels. A tremendous amount of data would be available, right? And being able to, I always say data is no value. It's the insights from the data that really are the value. So we do see the whole digital revolution and going further in automatically predicting, monitoring the health of the tractor, automatically, predicting the maintenance requirements, or in many cases, even know when the parts are going to fail beforehand so that the parts can be delivered to the customer. So we see that trend that you see. We all live in the Amazon world, trend that you see there in the industry as well. And the challenge of the industry is that the demographics, I don't know, one of the slides I talked about, the demographics is changing. And the younger generation wanting to be, they want to make sure it's a technology play. It is not farming as they known their great grandfathers used to do. So there's actually a level of expectation from the future farmers that it becomes more of and that's a challenge. And the know-how, the knowledge that the farmers have will not be there in the next generation. So they focus on technology to help get there. For us in the industry, the skills that we need to design, develop these products are very different than what they were probably 5 years ago, because of more software, electronics, and computing skills that we really need. And then the maintenance we have to engage the customer all along the way. It's one thing to offer an electrified vehicle. It's another. We have to make sure that our dealers, our customers understand the product. Our dealers are prepared to repair, help with it. So it's the wide value chain we're focusing on, not just the technology development.
Jay, we have seen India is the largest producer of tractors by volume. If we talk about, though we have a smaller tractors in large number, but still in exports we do hardly 100,000. 900,000 is locally consumed. Just want to understand, looking at the Indian market from global lens, what would be your message to the local Indian manufacturers, how they should transform, how they should be ready to compete with their global counterpart, and they can probably create a global brand image for themselves?
Yeah, I would say that I work for a global company, CNH Industrial. We're very much present in India, right? So it is. India is the largest producer. I agree in terms of the size of the tractors and for the given application, right? So I'm a believer that the product has to serve the region. You just cannot take, because the customer is different, the application is different, the environment is different. So and the product has to fit the needs of the customers locally. So from that, the fuel will be different, fuel quality will be different. So in the region, for the region, I'm a big believer of that. But having said that, India is some of these areas I spoke of, in electrification as an example, digital as an example. India is the hub for all of that, the talent and the technology available. So India can, in many ways, leapfrog electrification, right, and the adoption of gas technology or CNG technology, assuming the infrastructure can support it. I know the electrical infrastructure in India and even in the US and globally need an upgrade. So I would say that, India can focus on obviously, creating the right product for the region and also try to lead the, technology development, not necessarily follow, right? Make their own path of. So there's a tremendous opportunity of what India can do for the local market and export.
Yeah, I know that CNH has huge R&D setup in India also. You're doing a lot of work from India. Just want to understand, you mentioned that India is hub for all this and future is going to be electric connected where digital technology is going to play a role. How do you see as an investor in India, what kind of investment plan do you have for India going forward? How do you want to leverage the opportunity that India throws for companies like you?
As you mentioned, we have had a long presence in India and we've had 3 manufacturing plants from a CNH. Yeah. And I know that many global companies have a strong presence in India, not just CNH. For us, we have one of the best plants, manufacturing plants in the overall company, in India as well. So the discipline, the quality of the work that is done and the people side of the, is very strong. We see that one of the strengths of the country. And the R&D center, we had strategically invested in R&D center in Gurgaon, and it is a part of our global footprint, right? The R&D center will be a major player in all aspects of our product development. Again, because of the skills, expertise available in the areas that I spoke of, right, becomes an important part of, one of the pillars of our global R&D center. So we continue to grow there, and we continue to have local product development, global engineering, and innovation coming out of India, the R&D center in India.
You want to beef up that team here?
That is the focus, and that is exactly what is going on, including the R&D, including the innovation. One of the things we are doing is, creating a strong partnership with the local universities. And I studied in IIT Bombay at the time. Now it's Mumbai myself, but a lot of research institutions in India are doing a tremendous amount of work in innovation. We also see a very vibrant startup culture. And so once, as we expand our technology center, we will be leveraging all of this for creating a strong ecosystem for us for overall R&D. And we're very excited. We are a very, very strong global player, and we're really going to strengthen our R&D presence in India.
You talked about hybrid and alternate fuel tractors. How far are we to see them in India from CNH?
We are ready to go. It's a matter of the market and market acceptance. And again, you do not want to bring a vehicle which is a global vehicle. Yes, there are elements of it that have to be customized for the applications in India. So we normally don't disclose our product plans, but I think as soon as the market is ready to receive it, we are looking at all of these technologies.
When do you expect India to be ready for those kind of product? Because we still struggle to meet the basics. Here in India, it still takes 3 to 4 years to get a vehicle tractor tested. So how long do you think India will take to adopt to these kind of technology, a market ready to adopt to these kind of technologies?
I think things are changing. I understand the challenges that you're referring to. I think things are changing. There's a focus on sustainability and environment from the government. So I would say in the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to see a lot more. You are seeing Teslas in India right now, correct, on an electric vehicle. So you're going to see this is going to follow suit. But the key is to make sure that we have the right product and there is right infrastructure to support the customer.
Thank you, Jay, for such an insightful discussion. Of course, you clearly spelled out that it's not only the passenger vehicles, buses, or two-wheelers or trucks are going to catch up when it comes to connectivity or electrification or hybridization, but the tractor is also very much in line on the global pedestal, and India is also very soon going to catch up. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for more discussion and presentations on Farm Equipment Summit. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you, Nabil.
Thank you so much, Ajay.
Thank you, Ms. Iyengar and Nabil, for a power-packed session. Ladies and gentlemen, for any technical assistance, you can proceed to the help desk. Our representatives are here to assist you. Stay tuned and keep tweeting using the hashtag ETAuto FEBS.